I'm here, but the intro didn't play. I don't know why. Hold on.
Are you looking for a really awesome and amazing graphic designer? How about an illustrator or a photographer? This is Rainey Roberts, and I wanted to tell you how you can get my designer, illustrator husband, Scotty Roberts, to work for you on your project. Do you have an awesome self-published book but no cover, or even worse, a cover that really sucks? Do you need a kick-ass logo for your company or some f***ing awesome graphic designs for your ads or website? Then get in touch with my husband for the best f***ing awesome kick-ass design and illustration. He knows his stuff, and he's been at this for more years than I've been alive. Go to ScottAllenRoberts.com. That's Scott with two T's, ALANROBERTS.com to take a look at his online portfolio of work, or call 651-468-8115. Now go out and kick some ass with some kick-ass graphic design.
Hire my dad, so he can take me to Disneyland.
You're listening to the Intrepid radio program with Scotty Roberts. Intelligent Talk.
Hey, good evening, folks. Sorry about that. The opening didn't play when I clicked on it, and I came on, and I started to say, hey, opening didn't play, and boom, it went on. So there you go. There was a delay in the opening, but here we are. Welcome to the show tonight. It's Thursday night. It is the eve of the day before the holiday weekend. The traffic over here was ridiculous everywhere we went. I mean, out here in the country where we live, just the end of our street going onto the main back road out here was busy. We went over to Hudson. It was busy. Everywhere was busy. I was waiting for traffic everywhere. I guess I'm just not used to living in the city anymore, because the traffic out here was pretty nutty today. I think it's because everybody probably took tomorrow off, and they're all getting prepared to go out of town tonight. So welcome, Thursday night before the 4th of July Friday weekend. And you're listening, of course, to my show, the Intrepid radio program, right here on the Odyssey Radio Network. That's ODYSY1.com. Come on over, see all the goodness that's Odyssey Radio. You can listen all day long. If you look at the daily schedule, there are different times throughout the day where reruns of this show play in archive over there. So go on over and listen if you want to catch some of the old stuff. And also, if you're listening to this later than live, you are catching me on the YouTube channel. And that's youtube.com/Mr. Scotty Roberts. And thank you to everybody who's a member of this channel. It helps sustain what we're doing. And you can join the channel just by hitting the little join button down below the window here. And it'll pop up. It'll give you $1.99, $4.99, $14.99. So respectively $2, $5, $15 that you can pay on a monthly basis. It comes automatically out of your card until you cancel it. And that throws money into our coffers and helps us support the research here and the show here and everything we do here. And I appreciate that already for those of you who are already members. It means a lot to me. And of course, the show is always free. It doesn't cost anybody anything except your time and your participation. So I want to thank you all for being here. Now, tonight, we're going to try one more time to get back into talking about the Ogdoad, but I got a couple of other things I want to hit before we do that. And there was one thing in the news that I thought was worth talking about. Some of you might look at that and go, oh, that's politics. It's not politics. It's current events. It's in the news. It's the history of our country in the making. And of course, with all the fiasco and all the challenge and all the pros and cons to the election that took place last November for the presidency, no matter what side of that issue you're on, you saw a lot of current controversy, and there's still a lot of lawsuits and things going on about that. And so right now there's a huge boon that's been given to the GOP and their election security efforts. The SCOTUS, the Supreme Court of the United States, upholds the Arizona voting rules. And so the court's decision could spell doom for the Justice Department's current lawsuit against Georgia. And the Supreme Court on Thursday upheld 2 Republican-backed voting rules in Arizona. Now, this is the Supreme Court. Now, you might think, oh, there's a lot of conservatives on the court and so on. I've seen the Supreme Court. It doesn't matter if they're conservative or liberal. They tend to back what they are there to do is to back constitutional law and to make sure constitutional law is being carried out. And so the Supreme Court on Thursday upheld 2 Republican-backed voting rules in Arizona. They provided a boon to ongoing Republican efforts in other states to pass laws aimed at ensuring the integrity of elections. So here's what happened. In a 6-3 decision, the Supreme Court determined that 2 Arizona voting rules, one that was requiring that provisional ballots be tossed if submitted at the wrong precinct, and another making it a felony for third parties to collect and submit another person's ballot, that those 2 things do not violate the Voting Rights Act of 1965. And the case landed before the High Court after the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals ruled last year that the voting rules disproportionately burdened minority voters, and thus violating the law. But in Thursday's decision, the court's band of conservative justices overturned the lower court's ruling. Arizona, this is a quote, Arizona's out-of-precinct policy and HB 2023 do not violate Section 2 of the VRA. Justice Samuel Alito wrote for the majority opinion. He was joined by Chief Justice John Roberts, Clarence Thomas, Neil Gorsuch, Brett Kavanaugh, and Amy Coney Barrett. And so in general, the court found that the Arizona law makes it quite easy for residents to vote. And when restrictions are applied, the state goes out of its way to alleviate any substantive burdens to voting. Any burdens that remain are commonplace and not discriminatory, the court concluded. They're just commonplace rules. So having to identify one's own polling place and then travel there to vote doesn't exceed the usual burdens of voting, Alito argued. On the contrary, these tasks are quintessential examples of the unusual burdens of voting. And so I'll tell you this, my place of voting, where I register, I vote where I live, and then I drive to vote where I live. It's about 2 miles from here. And they're saying that somehow there was some unnecessary burden placed on voters by insisting that this rule remain intact. So having to identify one's own polling place and then travel there to vote doesn't exceed the usual burdens of voting. On the contrary, they're quintessential examples of the usual burdens of voting. You got to get yourself to the poll. And he added elsewhere that the mere fact that there is some disparity in high impact or in impact doesn't necessarily mean that a system is not equally open or that it doesn't give everyone an equal opportunity to vote. And so besides, states have a legitimate interest in guarding against fraudulent activity, the justice added. Fraud can affect the outcome of a close election, and fraudulent votes dilute the right of citizens to cast ballots that carry appropriate weight. And fraud, he wrote, can also undermine public confidence in the fairness of elections and the perceived legitimacy of the announced outcome. So dissenting from the majority were liberal justices Ilana Kagan, Stephen Breyer, and Sonia Sotomayor. And so why does this whole thing matter? And those of you who might think, this is politics, this is not politics, this is civics. This is what's going on in your country. And this is important law. This is Supreme Court rulings. So why does this even matter, and should it matter to us? The court's decision comes as Republican-controlled state legislatures all across the country are considering new laws to tighten election security. In response, Democrats have argued that the new measures are nothing more than voter suppression tactics. So they've turned it into a political football. President Joe Biden's Justice Department has even filed a lawsuit against the state of Georgia over such reforms. But the Supreme Court's Thursday ruling may foreshadow the DOJ's defeat, the Department of Justice's defeat. On Thursday, the president called the ruling a broad assault against voting rights. And so in a span of 8 years, the court has now done severe damage to two of the most important provisions of the Voting Rights Acts of 1965, a law that took years of struggle and strife to secure, said Joe Biden. On the other hand, Arizona Attorney General Mark Brnovich, who appealed the Ninth Circuit ruling to the Supreme Court, celebrated the ruling as a win for election integrity that safeguards in Arizona and across the country. So fair elections are the cornerstone of our republic, and they start with rational laws that protected both the right to vote and the accuracy of the results. And so there you go. That's the new law. That's the new SCOTUS ruling on the voting law challenges that have been going on. Now remember, and I get into some discussions and arguments with people, whatever you want to call them, about voting rights, and that comes up, and they say, well, we're a democracy and everybody needs to vote. Everybody needs to have a chance to vote. I agree. We have a democracy. I remind them what we all know so well. We are not a democracy. That is not capital D democracy. That is not the form of government we possess. We are a republic. We are a constitutionally limited representative republic. And when it comes to a national vote or a federal vote, there are rules that apply. It's not one person, one vote. If you don't vote according to the rules, you know what happens? Your vote is invalid. That does not make us an undemocratic country. It means that because we are a republic that has a constitution that limits our rights and limits our laws and regulations, our laws and regulations must fit under the Constitution. And because we are a republic with those laws, there have to be rules and regulations for voting. And so if one of the rules is a state cannot unilaterally, a governor of a state or a secretary of state of a state cannot say for its state that, okay, we're going to throw out these regulations and rules and everybody can mail in their vote or come in here or whatever the case may be. And the reason some of that's been challenged is because the law and the rules say that the states must follow the rules and bring any changes like that into the legislative body of that independent state. So if, say, Georgia changed its voting rules during the election, they can't do that. They have to bring it before the legislature of the state. And they didn't want to wait, so they ruled it anyway, and that's why there's been all the challenges. So there you go. That's the kind of stuff that's going on in government today, in civics. Hey, Corey Blake, good to see you. They even admit it. Yeah, they wrote the article about how they cheated. Exactly. Who else did I see? Roger Rabbit, good to see you. They scream voter suppression, but are okay with all the bail dumps and all the other BS we can't speak of. Exactly. There it is. You mean ballot or ballot? Bail dumps or ballot dumps? Wesley Curry, the effective similitude of similitude done through ballot spoiling in the adjudication process designed to be cheated. Right. And so there have to be rules that we stick to. The process was done through ballot spoiling in the adjudication process designed to be cheated, said Matt Finn. And just like everything else, said Corey Blake, which I'm sure the similitude gloats in their hearts. And Steve Clark says, all laws have to be obeyed by everyone. No law can be written that put anyone above the law. Exactly. Boom, bada, boom. So, thank you, Corey. And Roger says, I honestly don't think fraud can be prevented during an election in today's world. It's really tough. I'm still all for the old-fashioned way to vote. If you're going to vote, you register, then you go show up at the poll, you show your ID. I'm a registered voter. Here's my ID. And sometimes when you're registering, you got to show, a document that shows, hey, this document has my address on it. It's last month's utility bill. I live in this district, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, there is nothing wrong. And by the way, if somebody you see opposes voter ID, that is not a racist thing. Voter ID, you got to have ID. The argument goes on ad infinitum. What are the things you need your ID for? Just think of all the things you've got to show ID for in order to get it done. Can't have a bank account without an ID, but you can vote for the president without one. You have to have a driver's license to drive a car, but you don't have to have a voter ID to vote. You have to have ID to cash a check, but you don't need one to vote for the highest office in the land, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It goes on and on and on. So there you go. Hey, David Castle. Good to see you. Morgan Snow. Nice to see you in here as well. If I missed anybody along the way, welcome. Glad you're here tonight. I got my wife is over there making all kinds of noise. Sorry, the big light's off for you. Are you seeing what you need to see all right?
Maybe.
Since you're here, you should come and say hi.
I'm not making too much
noise. She's going to come over. Yeah, since you're making noise, come on over. Come on over and say hey to the troops. Let's see. Steve says smokes, driver's license, alcohol. Just to buy beer, you got to show your ID. But there are some people that say that it's discriminatory or racist to have to show your ID to vote. Wouldn't it then be racist to have to show your ID to buy beer or cigarettes? I don't know. So is it because people of color can't afford an ID? I don't know what it is. What's the reasoning behind that? It gets to be really kind of dumb after a while. So, hey, Durwood, good to see you as well. And thank you, David Castle. You're from England, so you're getting a bit of American government civics going on here. We're just talking about the Supreme Court of the United States voting in favor of the Republican-backed bills to put some restrictions on voting, to uphold restrictions on voting. We're a republic. You have to have that. We're not a democracy. We're a republic that possesses democracy. And there's my beautiful wife. There she is. How you doing?
I'm doing.
All right.
Look at that hair. Which way is it going?
It's going all over. Where do you want it to go?
I don't know. It's this side.
So.
There we go.
So what do you got to say to everybody tonight?
Not much.
I pulled you over.
Hi, everybody. How you doing?
So. This, who we got? Helene Moody. This is exactly why civics law is hidden from the masses and is vital in England. Yeah, that's exactly why. It's kind of like why the Catholic Church for many years only gave biblical lessons in Latin. The people weren't supposed to know what it actually said. That was to be interpreted by the priests and so on. And so there you go. Same kind of thing.
Yeah.
So,
cool. Yeah.
Yay. So I just like having you over here.
I know.
I love you. You strike me with awe.
Yeah. How's my breath today?
It's not garlicky.
Is it corny?
So it's corny. We had corn on the cob tonight. Wisconsin corn on the cob.
Ellie picked it out.
And it was very good. So.
Yeah, it was very good.
So that's all I got. I just wanted you to come and say hi. I know you're in the middle of shipping things out. She just sold off of her Mama Hathor's Etsy page a bunch of the little Shepties, little Egyptian figurines. And so
Now we only have one left.
only one left. So I'm trying to talk to my Egyptian connection to see if I can get more. So
Get some more good stuff.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that's all I got.
Cool. Well, I'm almost done, so I won't be noisy.
That's all right.
But I gotta figure out why my printer's being dumb. It keeps printing on both sides.
Yeah. Hey, Rainey, says everybody. Hey, Elderberry.
Hi.
And
Hi.
Field Guy, corn shucks. That's right.
I was
So
gonna say, yeah. Hi, Susie. Hi, Joyce.
there you go.
Hi, Matt. Hi, everybody.
Hey,
Hi.
Big Macs are out for me, cuz. That's right.
Oh man, what I wouldn't give McDonald's to come up with a gluten-free Big Mac.
There you go.
I would eat it.
Gluten-free Big Macs.
Yes. Would have to be a nice fluffy bun though, not that crappy gluten-free, heavy, icky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Steve Clark says, hey.
Hi, Steve.
So,
And Morgan.
Morgan. And everybody.
And everybody.
So I like to pull her over just because she's here.
Yeah. Doing
And I like to be next to her.
doing Etsy stuff.
So.
I'm gonna make Scotty start on my new. I'm gonna start something.
Yeah,
I'm
she's going to
excited.
start a new business.
We're getting it.
You
We're
going to tell them what it is?
I don't know. I might make everybody wait. Wait
Make
until
everybody
we,
wait.
till we're like ready to go.
I'll tell you when she's not here.
No, you won't. I can tell it.
All right,
It's
you get to
mine.
tell it. It's your
Yeah,
business.
Not pudding pops.
Not pudding pops. No. All right,
So, all right. Have a fun show.
I will.
Yeah. Okay.
That's
That
all I
was a
got.
giant fly. I don't know if you guys could see that.
I heard it. It went right by my ear. The kids stand with the doors open in the summertime, and guess what? House is full of flies, strangely.
Yeah. Well, I think the slider's open right now because they're in the back on the picnic table making slime.
Oh, I hope they don't leave that standing open.
I'll go check.
At least
on
pull
it.
the screen shut.
Yeah.
All right, bye.
Okay, bye. Bye.
There you go.
Bye, everybody.
See ya.
Have fun.
Bye, Rainey.
Have fun. Have fun.
We'll do our best.
Lots of fun.
I love this fun time too, Steve. Seems to be one of those things that's everywhere, no matter what you do, so you can do. Bioengineered last generation. There it is. I missed some context there, but there it is. I agree with you. I'm going to drink some water. Voice is a little better today. The throat. This is electrolyte water beverage, and it's berry flavored. It's not my favorite, but it's all I had left in the fridge other than spring water. I like spring water. I don't like regurgitated water. The water that's been, redone or some rebottled. Not my thing. Give me spring water. I want artesian spring water. So it's what I drink. Absolutely, Corey. So, hey, I'm working. You remember our, from a few years ago, our little platinum books. Well, my partner in that, Pete, wanted to resurge those, and he had some things going on. He wants to print a few of them up. And I'm going to finish the one on the archaeology. Now, remember a week ago or so, I read to you, I showed you that 2-page spread from that book, and I read you some of the stuff off of that. Well, I've been working on finishing the writing of that. It's real easy. I mean, it's poem form. It's done in 16 pages of text, 16 pages of illustration work. And let me show you something here. I'm going to get over here to let's go to Photoshop. I want to show you something here. Let me share my screen with you. And that's down here. Share screen. Boom. Share. Now you should be seeing my screen right here. You can see what I'm seeing on my screen. I'm going to show you a couple things about this book. Let me go over to Photoshop. And I'm going to show you the little cover of this book. File, open. And we go over to, let's see, where is it? Scott Roberts, transferred files, and Little Platinum Books. You can see all the stuff I've got in here. How to Be an Archaeologist. Now, this is the cover of that particular book, and this is what it's going to look like. And this is the cover I had done up a couple of years ago. There it is. How to Be an Archaeologist. And this is for our company, Little Platinum Books. And this one's written and illustrated by me, and there's our stuff on that and all of that. And I had shown you this page, and I read some of this to you. I think it's right here. It's the page with that picture on it. There it is, right there. So I had shown you this page, and we read what was on this page. And this is page 17 and 18 of the book. And it's actually going to be further down into the book.
Hi.
That's packing tape.
I need your help.
She's packing up a package for somebody. And so I showed you all of that stuff. Now, let's get rid of Photoshop here. Hide Photoshop. And let's get out of the share. Stop the screen share. Boom. And, Helene Mooney says, hey, Rainey. And she's out of the room now. This is why I practice civics law. Mono for the monarchy, and it's one theology. Put a statue by for me, please, Rainey. I have to get my Google unhacked next week, next payday. Yeah, we've got a couple of them left. So we've got to get with some of the people I know in Egypt to see if I should have had John Ward bring some back. They were just in Egypt and just got home late last night is what they did. So they are home now. So anyway, I wanted to read this to you. This is some of the writing I'm doing for this book. I want you to get an idea because it's fun for me to read it and hopefully fun for you to listen to it. This is the book as it's formulating. Now, How to Be an Archaeologist. This book, it's supposed to be for adults to read to their kids. And it's not really kids' books. It's parents' books. That's why the first book was How to Rob a Bank. And dad takes his kid to work. Bring your kid to work day, only dad happens to be a bank robber. And he and his organization. And they rob a bank, and it's the perfect robbery. And that was the first book I illustrated in this series. And so this one we're going to do the How to Be an Archaeologist book. And it's a little heavier. It's a little fun. I think it's going to be something that people enjoy reading, and adults enjoy reading to their kids. And they left the dog closed in the studio here. So you're going to hear some messing around because she can't just lay down. She's got to sniff at the door and scratch on it because she got left in here. So I've been working on finishing this book. So I've jumped back to the beginning. So the book covers, it's a kid living in Wales, and he stumbles upon an old pipe in the river and needs to find out what the pipe is, and it piques his curiosity. This is based on a friend of mine who's an archaeologist and his story. And it'll be different from his story, but this is how the story starts. And it carries you all through the process of going to school, all the papers you have to write, becoming an intern, going out on the field, doing your traveling, choosing where you want to be. The dog's chasing flies or something over there. And thank you, Steve Clark. I feel better this evening, a little bit. And it takes you all the way up to his own archaeological site in Egypt and the discoveries he makes, like that image that I showed you just a few minutes ago. And so here's how it goes so far. You see what you think of this. And I'm going to read this to you. And hopefully you'll enjoy this. Treat it like half a bedtime story. So it goes like this. You had no idea you were just out to play, wading in the shallows of the river that day, when your bare toes dislodged it, broke it loose from the clay, a pipe carved in meerschaum, 100 years in the cray. Someone had lost it or tossed it away off the bridge in your town that spanned River Cray. The pipe sank to the bottom, and for the next 100 or so years lay quietly waiting for you to appear. The pipe stem was broken, the bowl caked with muck. The hand-carved face was intact. What luck! A man with a bicorn hung over his brow, looked you straight in the eyes and implored you somehow to take the first step on a path that would lead to the rest of your life and your life work's creed. Now, a bicorn, and you'll see it in the imagery in the book. You know what the tricorn hats were? American Revolution, the tricorn was the little triangular hat that the colonials wore. A bicorn was just folded in half and one side up. And so the bicorn. That's the only thing that you would need the imagery of the book to know what that was. Now, this story goes on. With your riverbed find tucked deep in your pocket, it was up to the town you sped like a rocket, where there on the corner of High Street and Crockett was a curious old shop where the keeper's old docket could surely tell all of the pipe in your pocket. Sure enough, it was old and much older than old. It was ancient, antique, and bore history untold. The face on the bowl was of Admiral Lord Nelson, whose defeat of the fleet of Napoleon had won him great honor and glory, and a statue on a column, and even his face on a pipe carved in meerschaum. So much to be learned, so much history discovered from an old ancient pipe that you found underwater. And what of the artist who took time to create it? What were his reasons? Why did he not date it? For who was it made? Why was it important? Could these questions be answered, or would they ever remain dormant? Carefully, delicately, you clean off the tarnish, then give it a light coat of watery varnish. Up on your bookshelf, you set up a display, and there it will remain until that one day when the right time arrives to take it down and smoke it. Only you will know when. And Rainey wanted to add, to toke it. I did not put that in, though it would have been very funny. She made me laugh. It goes on just a little bit more here. Soon middle school came, then high school too. Homecoming was fun and football was cool. Phi Beta Kappa and the activities of college took a distinctive backseat to exploration and knowledge. You wanted to know things. You wanted the answers. You needed your bachelor's degree to advance your academic education, scholarly compliances in history, anthropology, geography, and the sciences. Even mathematics and literature were stepping stone reliances that would ready you, steady you, and give you the tools to pursue your life's goal. You must follow the rules. The library became your home from homes, your face so familiar they nearly gave you your own rooms. Then it goes on. And then it goes to the part that I had read you last week about later on in the story, after he's become an archaeologist, and the discovery and the spiritual aspects of that. Yes, Corey, I wrote that. This is the little book. It's a 16-page. It's a kid's book. It's done up like a kid's book. Let's just go one more. So let's go into the last section I wrote. Now, there's a big gap in here of where he goes into all the studies and writing papers and getting his master's degree, becoming an intern, going to the places, deciding where he wants to be, and then getting his own site with the Ministry of Antiquities in Egypt, and how he then discovers certain things there. And so toward the end of the book, there's this section that says he's uncovered a shrine with a family of statues, and those statues have faces that hadn't seen the light of day for between 2,500 and 3,000 years. This is a real thing that I based this on. And he did a little ritual, my archaeologist friend, who to speak their names and, in a sense, crack open that eternal life that was found in the name. And so I've got him in the book. That picture I showed you where he's facing the statues. And it says this: "You won't find it in books. They don't teach it in school. The universities won't break with their cardinal rule that says it's all science, just history, nothing more. They give you lectures and letters, then matriculate you to the door. But it's there in that moment, after years of hard work, of reading and writing papers and digging in the dirt, that you find yourself breathing the air of the ancients. You've moved rocks, sifted silt, and now you finally face it. Eternal life, it is written, resides in the name. Remembrance and utterance is the name of that game. So you drop to your knees, assuaging your fears, and for the very first time in thousands of years, you gaze into eyes that shed only stone tears. Your fingers brush lightly on glyphs carved so bold, and there on the lintel, where in antiquity was told the story of this man now 3,000 years old. In the recounting of his life and his deeds of great fame, lay the resurrection to be found only in his name. His face to your face, your words to his ears, you speak out his name not uttered in years. And the statue before you breaks free of its bonds, reconnecting with life in the light of the gods. And from there, by the way, the story goes to, not that I want to give it away, but I'll read you the whole story when it's done, probably tomorrow night. He goes from there, back now he's a man in his 40s, and he goes back and he sits down and he takes the pipe he found at the beginning as a kid in the River Cray and pulls it down, and for the first time ever sits down and smokes it. And that's kind of how it wraps the story around. So that's the little book. So the story goes on. Let's see. Oh, I'm sorry. Apologies for the time delay. This is Helene. I'm cooking what may be either a very late midnight snack or a very early breakfast of bacon, eggs, and baked sweet potatoes with mayo. Yum. Gotta go see if it's ready, she says. Sounds good, Helene. So I had this morning. Wow, about 14 hours ago, I made myself eggs. The little thin sliced ham I just threw on the griddle for a minute. Got it warm. Threw it on the eggs. Let's see. Corey Blake says, I have to say I'm envious of this character. He's a neat character. If you didn't see the illustration, I'd put it up just a few minutes ago. Put it up earlier. He's roughly an amalgam of John Ward and me, believe it or not. Looks like both of us. I got a lot of criticism for those 2 pages that I had posted. I had some, not necessarily archaeologists, but scientific types who were always looking to throw rocks at John Ward and me, always picking apart our work because we're not academicians the way they are, with letters behind their names. What right do we have doing anything? And they didn't like what we presented, and so, social media trying to tear us apart, which didn't really work. And somebody read that on that 2 pages, and they were trying to start the whole process all over again. And I told them basically, fuck off, see ya. I don't really care what you think. Doesn't matter to me. So there you go. Sadly, too thinly to tell the pharaohs had good or bad breath. Well, it all depends, I suppose. They say Hatshepsut had diabetes, and that she became obese, not morbidly obese, but became quite overweight in her later years, and that's probably what killed her. Thank you, Helene, by the way. Your little platinum books are totally awesome, she says. Thank you. Yeah, it's going to be fun. I think we're charging like $18 for these books, something like that. We have to get them printed. They'll all be in color. You saw how the illustrations will look. And it'll be just like a little paperback, square paperback about this big, stapled on the edges, just like kids' book. Well, we might do them hardcover. I'm not sure. I think it's got a little square spine on it. It's going to be done just like the old Little Golden books. That's what we were, because we were, in a sense, kind of mocking Little Golden books. We called ourselves Little Platinum books. There's going to be adult themes and things like that. So, Amanda B says, should get into Byron. Then we can wonder what Byron was when he wrote it. Not sure what you meant there. Scott Allen, I do charge by the page. You and I can talk. I know you're doing some illustrations. My charges they vary. I don't like to price myself out of the market for people who are mostly independent. If I have independent writers that come to me, I've had some that will pay me $500 an illustration. The Jesus book I did, he started off paying me, I think, almost $500 per illustration. And we ended up with almost 40 illustrations in that book. So you can do the math. And after a while, about halfway through, I said, look, you've got more illustrations coming in. I'm going to lower it down to $350. And I did the cover design for him as well. And so I don't know the total I made on the book. I had to add it up for him one time between illustrations and revisions. Now, revisions, I don't charge for revisions in the pencil stage. When I go to color, though, and I've already painted it and they want revisions, I tell them I gotta charge you for this. I think that book in total 2-3 years ago when I finished it, I think I earned over $40,000 for that book. So now I have some authors that are independent. They can't afford anything. And so we work out a good price. Instead of $450 to $500 an illustration, I've charged some people $50 or $100 an illustration, whatever they can afford. And if they have generally 16 pages or 32 pages, which is 16 illustrations usually, you can do the math on that as well. And then I'll do cover design for them. I'll do interior layout of the books for them and so on. So if you're thinking for your own purposes about what to charge for this stuff, it really varies. And you can be pretty open with people. I hate being chosen as an artist just for price alone. It's like, my price wasn't right, so I don't get the job. I mean, that's bidding on a job. The problem is you run into organizations out there, like there's these, I've mentioned it before, you got these like Singapore sweatshops out there that some of these illustrators will go, I'll do that illustration for $5 a piece or $15 a piece for 30 illustrations. And I'm coming in and I'm saying, I'll do that for $4.50 a piece for your 30 illustrations. Well, I got a guy that's going to do it for $15 a piece. Well, can't touch 15, but I can do it for this price. And I try to work out a good package deal for people. And I say, this is one of those areas where you really get what you pay for. And I've seen more people on these boards with illustrators that they hire, and they're crying, weeping tears of sadness at the end. The illustrations looked like they were cut and pasted and plagiarized. And I said, that's the Far East for you. That's Singapore. They don't have the same laws we have. So anyway, more than meets the eye to this guy. Wesley, to a dog, all rainbows are gray. That's sad. So thank you, Amanda, if that was for me. I appreciate that. So that's about the books and stuff. And I wanted to share that with you because I was writing that today. And I wanted you to get an idea. And we are now, once again, 3/4 of the way through the program tonight. And I have not hit the Ogdoad again. Is there something mentally restricting for me? Am I not wanting to do this series? Because I certainly have a lot of other things to talk about, and I talk about them instead of actually getting into it. And I want to talk about the gods of Egypt, and I'm probably going to do an awfully simple mini series here on just the gods when we get to them. And so maybe we should launch into this now. Corey says, I get mad and sad sometimes. Yeah, maybe that's it, Field Guy. Maybe I'm just saving it for our interview. By the way, my agent called me. She's got some authors from her stable that she wants me to interview on this show. And so I just might do that. Why, thank you, Amanda. I love drawing. I've always drawn pictures. That's what I've always done. And from the time it wasn't making me a living to the time it makes me a living now. Scott Allen says, what does he smoke from the pipe? I think it's just going to be some tobacco. This guy. Steve Clark said, Scotty, it's still interesting to me that no matter what you talk about, because it's a learning experience. Well, thank you, Steve. I appreciate that. So, yeah, Corey, if you're talking about authors being interviewed, I still have to finish my book for my agent, and it just gets pushed back it keeps getting pushed back to get stuff done. It's like this book I'm doing now, I'm being actually paid by an investor in that company to do this. So it takes the status of paid job to pay the bills. So it's elevated up over my own book, getting my book done. But that book's going to get done soon. I swear it. We want it to come out next year. So Wesley asks, how old were you when you began realizing your talent for drawing, Scott? I don't think I ever had an epiphany that, oh, I can draw. That came a little later. Realizing it, I think I've always drawn pictures. I remember being a little kid and drawing pictures. I was 5 or 6 years old, drawing pictures, just simple little kid stuff. I drew all through grade school. And it wasn't really until I was in high school, just before high school, middle school, that I started drawing. I did a version, a very churchified version that was just a takeoff of the Charlton Heston 10 Commandments movie, story about Moses. That's how long this guy and studying about Moses and the Exodus has been on my plate. When I was 13 or 14, I did a bunch of pages in comic book style of the 10 Commandments and colored it with markers. And it was seen by some people at our church and the church I went to, not my family. And they gave me a scholarship to go to the Christian high school there, which is where I went to high school, because they said they had a fantastic art program there. And they did. And so I attended high school there. That's when it really hit. If you can, these aren't in color, but I wonder if I've got it in here. Will it show up on this? Hang on a second. This is the Exodus reality. And this is the, I don't have the English version. This is the, as you can see, the Chinese version of the Exodus reality that my publisher put out. So there you go. There you go. It's the Chinese version. I don't know what dialect, but in my foreword, let's see if they put it in the, oh, yes, they did, but it's very small in this version. It was a whole page in the English version, but this right here, can you see that picture there, folks? This is to kind of answer Steve's question. I don't know when it starts to go out of focus, but some of that are the pictures that I drew in color markers when I was a kid. These down at the bottom were done in color markers. And some of those were a little later. But I put this in my forward to show and demonstrate that this story of Moses had always been something that had been part of who I was. So there it is. The first art teacher I had that really began the propulsion of my talent. Boy. I want to say it was in high school. There was Mrs. Burns, which is the reason they brought me to the high school. But we used to fight all the time, believe it or not. And she would tell me I was drawing the wrong way or coloring the wrong way, and that I needed to go, what was it? Did she say light to dark or dark to light? I go light to dark now. So when I'm adding color and shade and lighting. I went to college. Even though I was in Bible college, I was an art major in the Bible college. And I remember having an instructor there who would tell me, he'd look at my work and then he'd say, looks good. I got to go run some errands if you want to just have that ready for next class. I didn't learn anything while an art major, I got to tell you. That bothered me about that class, about that program. But I was also the first one that they devised the art major program around at the time. So it hadn't existed before that. So anyway, Black Sheep Shake. That's the only way to do it, Scotty. I'm probably missing your context there. I'm sorry about that. So yeah, that's what I've always done. And I showed you some of my art the other day. We're not getting to the Ogdoad tonight. Again, sorry folks, for those of you who came for that lesson, we're not getting there. So I apologize for that. But we will get to it. It will be either tomorrow or Monday. Somewhere in there, we'll get to it. But I did a lot of work. I've got the original stuff from, that would have been 1974 that I drew those marker drawings of the 10 Commandments. And I just passed over those not long ago. They're in a big trunk out in the garage. That was from 74. So what is that? Those are almost 50 years old. And what is that? 48 years ago? 47 years ago, I did those. So I've still got those. That's some of the oldest stuff in my big old trunk. And so there it is. Yeah, sorry, Susie Q. I talk myself into a corner some days. Sometimes I'm so taken with the topic that I just want to dig in, and that's all I want to talk about. You remember when we talked about Bury My Heart at Wounded Knee? That whole topic of the American West and the taking of Indian land. And that 7 weeks we did that. Every day I couldn't wait to dig into that. Maybe it's the Ogdoad. I'm not emotionally attached to the Ogdoad. The Egyptian gods, maybe a little bit more. Stories from Egypt, a little bit even more. And it could be that I'm not impassioned by it, and therefore other things can take up my time when I'm leading up to a prelude to talk about it. So, if you're telling people, come and hear Scotty's show, he's talking about the Ogdoad. Well, he was supposed to the last week, but he hasn't yet. But he'll get there. Hopefully you enjoy the other stuff we do. So, when did you get your first set of truly pro materials? You're talking about media, the stuff that I actually worked with. I was one of those kids that, with all the Christmases and the birthdays and the stuff like that, at Christmas time, I was always given art supplies. People would say, I'm sure now that I'm a parent, and have been for many years now, we always talk about, what are we going to get Abby? Well, what are we going to get Sam? What should we get Flynn this year? And I'm sure the same talks went on. And everybody always got me art supplies. So my mom did that to encourage my drawing. My mom's dad, my grandfather, would do that to encourage my work. And I get at Christmas, I get big sets of, the oil pastels, crayons, I think they called them. And you could do some interesting art. And I never mastered using them, but I used them. They were messy for me. Colored pencils I would get all the time. Always getting tablets to draw on and things like that. And hey, Barbie D, see you're in here. Good to see you. Susie Q, you off for the night? Good to see you here. Glad you were here. So that's the stuff I got. So when I was in grade school, I used to get that kind of stuff all the time to draw pictures. And then, of course, not until in college, I was buying professional stuff. Out of college, I was doing professional work. I was working for ad agencies and so on while I was in seminary. And that's when I really got into it. Super serious. So, what do we get? Is this a good time? I can show you. They say the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. It used to hang back behind me, and now I've got it sitting over here. I want to show you guys a picture that my daughter drew for me. This is all done in graphite or pencil. This is one of my daughters who they own the Mermaid Tail Company. Let me go grab this, because in talking about artwork, I want to show you this picture that she did for me a couple of years ago. It's just sitting on the other side of my desk over here. So you'll still be able to hear me, but as a voice crying in the wilderness. Oh, wait, it's been moved. Where did it go? Well, now that's odd. I don't recall moving it. Hold on a second here. You just have to see where it is. Hey, Rainey, where is the picture Bryn drew me that was sitting here? In your closet. Oh, in the closet. I won't show it tonight then. Digging that out is going to be ridiculous. Okay. See, we're packing stuff up right now and getting ready for a big move. So Rainey stuck it in the closet because it's off the wall. So I'll show you another time. But they've done some fantastic stuff, my daughters. Of course, if you go on your own, it's at your own discretion to intuit what means something and what means nothing or less than nothing. I'm not sure. I find much of the form to become corrupted with nonsense. I thoroughly enjoyed, though I was just listening. So, but thank you, Leslie. By the way, good to see you here. Having a mother degreed in oil painting, says Wesley, and art education had its benefits from a very early age of development here. I'll bet it did. What's my opinion of apprenticeship versus solo creativity? Corey asks. Apprenticeship is always good because you get to learn from somebody who has already mastered that craft or is supposed to have mastered that craft. Sometimes going on your own, you develop your own thing, your own skills. I didn't have anybody teach me anything by way of art. So I developed my own skills and my own skill set. That's why I never paint correctly. I do things differently. And I go for final effect as opposed to making sure I use all the right steps along the way. So crap disguised as craft or thereof, yeah. When I become a grandparent, says Helene, I'll buy 2 sets so I can have 1 set here to read to the babies. There you go. And I like that. I like having different sets of things. One you can crack open, and the other one, Leslie, moving is hard work. So it's a pain in the butt, especially since we know we're going to have to move again someday. We're not getting into that dream house yet this summer. which was the goal. That didn't quite happen. So we're going to probably have to rent somewhere right now, because where we want to live, we're not finding much. It's a whole saga of its own. So I could probably understand some of your frustrations, Corey. I get it. So, and I'm an artist. I would sit you here and show you my work all night long. And some people would think I'm bragging or showing off or whatever. For me, as an artist, it's something I do. I go, look, I drew this. I painted this. I did this. I did that. There was something just sitting here that got, it was right here. Rainey pulled it out of a drawer where all the Egyptian little things were that the guy just bought. And she said, is this something you need? You can see it's all kind of bent up and stuff. But it was a little ink drawing I did for a guy. And this is actually, he wanted it taken from the old book, Pilgrim's Progress, moving on to the Celestial City. And now it's so simple ink drawing like this because the final application of this had to go on a gold medallion about that big, like a 3-dimensional coin. And so you can see, and so I try to I even had to simplify from this, if I remember correctly. I took it digitally and I got rid of some lines and stuff like that. So simple stuff like this is always sitting around. It's always falling out of a box or a drawer, because I take them when I'm done and I just and I throw them. And I've had some posers trying to tell me some very nonsensical things about the ancient way or the secrets. You're talking about art, Corey? About developing art, ancient secrets, ancient ways of doing things. I had an illuminist claim that the craft had nothing to do with esoteric spirituality and was dogmatically secular. Sounds like a communist to me. Well, that's interesting. I'm not sure exactly what you're talking about, Corey, what that's relating to. So is this in your theological studies that you're running into some of this? Let me get something here. Hold on a second, folks. I think it's right here. Let me just take a peek. Hang on. Let's see. Is this where it was? Maybe. Maybe not. Nope. Looking in the wrong spot. Talk amongst yourselves. We'll see if it comes up here. Nope. Is this it? Is this where I'm looking? Hello? No, that's not it either. All right. Nope, never mind. It's a lost cause. Maybe a lost cause. The thing I'm looking for. Oh, some of it's here. This is, remember I said I could sit all night and show you stuff, because it's just fun to do. And I might have some cool stuff here. Some of this you may have seen in other applications. I'll see if it's here. And worth showing and worth looking at and worth doing. And sometimes when I do a commercial piece of art, do you know what I do? It doesn't look like it's going to look at all when it's finished. It looks like something completely different. And sometimes it's not even on a final piece of board. It's something I've clipped up. Here, I got some things I'll show you. If you got patience and you want to see it, since we're talking about some art and all of that, if you don't mind, I'll try not to be too egotistical and braggadocious. But some of these things, like I've got drawers and drawers and crates and trunks and everything full of this stuff. So things like this, light pencil work, but this was for character development. Wondering if that light could be a little better positioned. So character development for a guy. This was for a graphic novel he wanted done. So I did character development. This was for some of the character. This is all in pencil. This is just stuff, and you sit around and you do this stuff. That was his main character, and characters like that, and the cop. The look he wanted it to have, things like that. Let's see what else I got in here. Remember, I did some shirts last Christmas that Rainey requested of me, and one was of the Krampus. And this is how Krampus looked. Oh, and the snowman. And she wanted me to do creepy Christmas characters. And so there was Krampus. It's just done in watercolor. So watercolor, then I import him into Photoshop, and I do some neat things with him, put him on a neat background. All of that. Frosty the Hatchet Man. That was for one of the shirts, and the reindeer, like a Easy Rider type of reindeer with a sexy elf on the back. So that's what that was. But these all ended up on T-shirts, and I cut her a pretty good deal. I took it out in trade, and so this is some of the stuff you saw last year. Some of the comic book work that I was working, a graphic novel for a guy, trying to get the light to not shine on it. And all of this stuff. There was a whole bunch of that stuff. See, all of this from that comic book. This is all just inked stuff. He didn't want to go through the expense of doing full color work, so it was all done with ink. And just trying to see some of this stuff out in the ocean. Blah, blah, blah. And some of this stuff you saw, if you were watching last year, I showed some of these as I was doing them. So, what else we got? Stuff like that, sitting on the battleship. Discovering the dead body of his friend. So, stuff like that. And, it seems like there's more here than I thought there was. So there's a whole bunch of those. Some are just done in pencil. They aren't even inked yet before the project got kind of put on hold. And so things like that. That was the first page. He's an underwater photographer or an oceanic photographer. So there you go. So some of that stuff. That's the stuff I do. Some illustrations from old books here. What do we got? Illustrations for a anthropomorphized book for someone. This is one that Scott Allen I got paid fairly well to do. There were a bunch of these. And all from the Legends of Elandria. And let's see what else is here. Kind of surprising me what's even here. This was one of my favorite ones. This is one of the characters. He was a blind dog that was like the master of the forest, or the guardian of the forest. And I don't know what he was. Chameleon, salamander, something like that. Excuse me. A couple more I've got from that book just sitting here. So the little bear and the fox and the leopard, blah, blah, blah. So that's the kind of stuff I do day in and day out. That's the stuff I charge those rates for that Scott Allen was asking about. Well, I did a thing for Black History Month. This was a mug and a T-shirt, and this was all, I don't know if any of you remember seeing that, but it was black heroes from the American Revolution, and all real people. And in Photoshop, I put their names on it, and I trimmed all this, yucky stuff down at the bottom. All got trimmed off on the final, things like that. So, what else we got here? We got just folders full of stuff. It's unbelievable. Oh my goodness, this is all the Fox and Bear stuff. So, this was Bear again. It's pencil. Professor Tewksbury. Remember some of that? Just seeing if there's anything else in here. These were sketches I did for a guy for a project I never actually did, but it was a book set in medieval times. There you go. That kind of stuff. Just some sketches for him. And I'm just seeing what all's in here. Some of it's good, some of it's horrible. So this is from that same book. Some of the illustrations of scenes from that book. I got more stuff from Fox and Bear in here. Oh, there it is. This was a character that was based on Rocky Stucci. The big water buffalo is Oxo Moxocelli was the name of the character. He's a pirate in the book Fox and Bear. And so it's Comic Zone type of material, yeah. And some of these have characters that, I don't know, they didn't all make it in. These were all characters from that book. Pharaonic characters, and this is really light pencil work. So it's hard to see. See things like that. So this is all the kind of stuff I do day in, day out. This was a illustration for a kid's book for an author. And I added stuff in on Photoshop, backgrounds and things like that, fuzzy backgrounds and things, because it was easy to do that way. I don't know what this is. Oh, just sketches and stuff. This was Chad Prather, if you know who Chad Prather is on radio. He had me do this, and I did it up in color. So just a cartoon of him. It was fun. This was for a CD cover for a group. You see how it gets clipped up and stuff, but they wanted me to draw them all as really overweight, eating food, sitting at a campsite. So that's what that was. Stuff like that is the kind of stuff that, kind of keeps things going around here. There's characters in here I haven't seen these for a couple of years, some of these things, but so that's what I do. And just going to see if there's anything really worth looking at in here. Maybe not. I just dumped over my water. So, not on anything important. Just the desktop. Yeah, that's pretty much all I got in here. So, there you go, folks. That's just stuff that was in a drawer and pulled out of the drawer, and it'll go down on the floor rather than right back in the drawer. Right down there, and I'll put it back later. So, here, I just got to see, I dumped a little bit of water. So, I got to make sure I don't have it in my electronics here. Hold on one second. There's scintillating live radio. No, I don't. Okay, it's fine. Stylus. Blah, blah, blah. So there you go. For not having gotten into the topic at all tonight, that's all we did. Was talk about other things. So I hope you enjoyed it. Hope you had a good time here tonight. Anything in the Etsy shop, Son of a Patriot? Thank you, Leslie. I appreciate that. Yeah, Michelangelo began by cartooning. Yeah, different kind of cartooning than you might think nowadays, but that's exactly what he did. And let me put that right there because I got a little tiny puddle of water right there in the middle of my desk, which is now gone. All right. So, very lax way to end the show. The last 15 minutes we got out of doing the regular show. Just moved into Talk It. So thanks for being here. Thanks for putting up with me while I'm here. I've got 10:15 my time. Where are you, Corey? That it's 11. It's 11:12 where you are. You're out east. So always great to take a look at your work. Thank you, Matt Finn. I appreciate that. And we'll try to do that less because I just do that when I get the hankering. Maybe one of these days I'll go get the big trunk in the garage. We'll go through really old stuff. So my daughters, when I was in the hospital having my heart surgery, my daughters came over, and I think I mentioned this the last time I showed my artwork, and they raided my art cabinets and my boxes, and they wanted to get certain pieces of art. And they said, not because I thought I was going to die, but which I didn't think of at the time, but they just went over and they said, we found some art. We wanted to get some art. And are you okay if we take a couple of pieces? I said, yeah, take what you want. So there you go. Folks, that's all I got for tonight. Wrapping this up with a very loose knot at the end. And I'm going to get out of here. I appreciate your being here. I appreciate all the time that you give me. And I appreciate your presence here. And I hope I make it worth your while. Better than some of the nights I've had when I haven't been fully myself. So, guys, thank you. You all have a good night. And I will see you again tomorrow. And remember, live long and prosper.
Are you looking for a really awesome and amazing graphic designer? How about an illustrator or a photographer? This is Rainey Roberts, and I wanted to tell you how you can get my designer, illustrator husband, Scotty Roberts, to work for you on your project. Do you have an awesome self-published book but no cover, or even worse, a cover that really sucks? Do you need a kick-ass logo for your company or some f***ing awesome graphic designs for your ads or website? Then get in touch with my husband for the best f***ing awesome kick-ass design and illustration. He knows his stuff, and he's been at this for more years than I've been alive. Go to ScottAllenRoberts.com. That's Scott with 2 T's, ALANROBERTS.com to take a look at his online portfolio of work, or call 651-468-8115. Now go out and kick some ass with some kick-ass graphic design.
Hire my dad so he can take me to Disneyland.
You're listening to the Intrepid radio program with Scotty Roberts. Intelligent Talk.